Alright, this is relationship video number 2. So the second relationship was made shortly after arriving to San Angelo, Goodfellow, Air Force Base, Texas. Now, from my last video, I was still recovering from the first relationship, from the breakup. No, this individual is not a rebound, but in my immaturity, I thought it would be best to jump into another relationship to heal the wound from the first one. Did I still love this person? Yes. Did they help in the process of getting over the first person? Yes. Did I actually have the intention of marrying this person? Yes. Until I didn't want to marry them anymore. This is probably the one and only relationship where I didn't leave them. It was kind of mutual. But without further ado, let me explain. So I get to Goodfellow, and this individual, I'm going to call her Karen. Karen was a kiosk phone salesman at the BX. Now, I want to provide some context. And I feel like I'm going to get a lot of lashback from saying this, but that's why I want to talk about this real briefly. I want to just talk about race real quick, okay? This was my first black female relationship. And I'm using the term black because that's what I grew up with on how to identify people of a different color or a minority. But when I told her, like, I'm dating a black person, she did not like that. She preferred the word or the term colored people. So, for a while, I used the term colored people only for me to have a black friend in Oklahoma where I used the term colored people, and I was I was cursed out about why that was not okay. So, it depends on the person, it depends on people's upbringing, it depends on people's culture, on if they want to be called a minority, if they want to be called black, if they want to be called colored, if they want to be called brown, if they want to be called African American. I've tried very long to appease people on what do you want to be called, but it got to the point where it's like, you know what? Everyone's got different terms. I'm not going to waste my time trying to figure out what those terms are. I'm exhausted. I got bigger and better things to do and worry about. So from henceforth, I will be referring to her as a black woman, or her name, her fake name, Karen. But a lot of this drama on what to call minorities or just people of different ethnicities stemmed from her, and it's been a fucking headache. But anyway, she sold me a very nice phone, and we talked about a little bit about our personalities and like what we want in life, what brought me into the military. And I mentioned like, well, I did join the military for me, but there was a little bit of me that joined the military for a girl that, I wanted to, support, referring to my first girlfriend, and, how I desired to be married. And I do hope that I make a video about marriage in the future, and how my views have changed a little bit. So she found that attractive, and she basically got my number. And we met pretty much every time we got off. And because I was in phase 1 in tech school, I was not allowed to leave the base. That didn't stop her. She was a very ballsy woman, and she was like, if you go to the visitor center, I will pick you up and basically drive you off. And basically, she made me live the phase 2 life where I could go off base, and be free, even though I was still in phase 1. She was 9 years older than me, so I was 20, she was 29. She did 7 years in the Air Force as an intel. Now, for those of you who don't know, Goodfellow is where they do intel training. So she was really into me. I was really into her. Um, and again, much like my first girlfriend, things went very quick, very fast. And within a few weeks, not me, but she was already talking about marriage, how she wanted to get married on the beach. Um, she wanted me to meet her family. Um, all these things. But kind of where I got a little turned off was I want my man to go to college. You need to go to college. Uh, I'm not allowed to get tuition assistance from the military until I get my 5 level, and I can't do that until I go to my first duty station. On top of that, I'm going through fire tech school right now, so that can't happen. I want my man to dress nice, and I remember she took me to, like, I think it was TJ Maxx to get nice clothes, and I'm a broke ass airman. I was an E1. I was an airman basic, making what was it, $1,000 a month. My minimum wage job back in Seattle was paying me more, but she wanted me to pay for my own clothes, but at the same time wanted me to look nice. So I remember spending a lot of money on good looking clothes that I honestly didn't want to wear just to make her happy. Now, she did take me to church, but it was an all black church. And I just want to say, black churches are fun. They're fun. You guys are a bunch of fun. I love it. Lots of energy, lots of spirits. I loved it. But and I even helped out around with cooking. I helped out with slides, with audio. Like, I was glad that I was able to help the church out a little bit while I went. I didn't go that much. I think I went maybe more or less 5 times, but every time that I went, I was trying to be very helpful. Now, kind of where things got really awkward was I'm a white guy, no duh, and she was a black woman, and we sat down with the pastor and we wanted guidance on how we can make this relationship work. And I will be honest, I don't remember most of the conversation, but what I do remember was blah blah blah. Oh, back in our day when we were slaves, the white man, blah blah blah. And I would look over at her like, you do realize I'm white, right? Like, you understand how awkward this just got. On top of that, a little context about me. My ancestors came here after the Civil War. And they were in Pennsylvania, eventually moved to Minnesota. And as far as I'm aware, up until World War II, when my family actually, went out and fought the war, I don't know what we did from the 1880s up until World War II. I have no idea what we did, but this was way after the Civil War ended. And I feel like in that moment she categorized me as a slave owner at some point. And I was like, but we're dating, and I actually like you, and I actually love you, and I'm contemplating marriage with you, and this is awkward. And then she would send me, videos of, mixed couples and how they work and, how they think about, being mixed. And I think the whole racial aspect of it kind of just turned me off. I think I'd like to think that we're better than that. I'd like to think that we moved on from that, but it kind of got crammed down my throat a little bit. And I think another thing that also happened was I was trying to be romantic one time, and she's got braids. She's got braids. She looked great in braids. And I was trying to be romantic, pet her hair. And she'd freak out. Like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? Oh my God, what's wrong? I didn't pull your hair, did I? No. But back in the day, like if a white man wants to, have their way with the black woman, they grab him by the hair. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, I couldn't do anything without, in some way, shape, or form, be associated with us being a slave owner, despite my ancestors being their lack of. And it was just really hard. It was just really hard to be in a relationship with someone who was just so focused on race. I did manage to get to, not Houston. Yeah, I think it was Houston. Yeah, I managed to go to Houston, Baytown specifically. I met her mom, I met her dad. Her dad gave me the blessing. She told me to ask the dad, so I felt obligated to ask the dad. And I did, and he's like, yeah, sure, go for it. I mean, sometimes she can't make up her mind. She could make up her mind. Actually, it's a very strong trait of hers. But it was really, at the end of the day, it was just all that racial stuff that was just being put down my throat. It didn't take long from when we got back to Baytown for us to have a mutual, I don't think this is going to work out. From her point of view, I wasn't budging enough, but from my point of view, it was, I'm in fire academy. There's only so much I can do being an airman basic who's brand spanking new to the Air Force. I don't have much money to buy nice clothes. I don't have time to go to college. I can't go to college. I'm already technically in college or in a fire academy. This is my priority, and like, I'm sorry I can't do much more, but like, it is what it is. We lasted maybe about, about 2 months. I can't remember if it was May to, I'm pretty sure it was like end of May, if not early June, to like late July, so maybe even a month. So the relationship, as a romantic relationship, ended, but we still became decent friends. I remember being in Oklahoma, and leadership would be doing interesting things, and I would actually text her like, hey, you've been in the Air Force for 7 years, you've been through ALS, Airman Leadership School, you've worked with officers and NCOs, is what's going on correct? How to get BTZ? I got a deployment coming up, what is that gonna look like? And she was very good about providing me nice, good, genuine information from her experiences, which I appreciated. There was a time where she was struggling. I was dating someone at the time, but there was a time where she was struggling. Now, Altus, Oklahoma isn't that far away from San Angelo, so I drove 4 hours to San Angelo to make sure that she was doing okay. And I don't know if she was trying to get back with me in that moment, but I was already obligated to someone else. And I did let my girlfriend know at the time, like, what was going on. And she gave me the blessing, and keep that in mind for the next video, actually, or not the next video, 2 videos from now. But I went down there, we had pizza. I went back to her place, and she just vented about how she dated a guy who like really mentally abused her, made her feel like shit. She contemplated ending herself. Now, I can say with a clear conscience that I slept on the couch, she slept in the bed, but I was basically there to be an ear. I was basically there like, hey, you need food, you need someone to listen to, you need someone to talk to. By all means, like, I am with you for the next 12, 14 hours before I gotta head back to Oklahoma. I'm already dating someone. Just, you need to know that I'm already dating someone, but I am here because, I do care. And, this guy that you dated, sounds like a real jerk, and I'm sorry that happened to you. And she did mention, like, you treated me well, and I'm like, I'm glad I treated you well, but you didn't treat, me well. I didn't say that, but that happened. I didn't really hear from her or talk from her until I got back from my deployment, and I told her about all the things that I've been through, the combat, the PTSD. She's been to Iraq. She's been exposed to combat. She's been shelled, and she also has, PTSD. And I talked about like, hey, how do I overcome this? And I don't remember what she said, but she again was being very genuine and all that kind of stuff. I did go through a breakup, like I said, in December of 2020, and she jumped on that real quick. She was very like, hey, now that you're single, do you think we can get back together? By this point, she joined the army. I'm very happy for her. She joined the army. Um, I don't exactly remember what her MOS was, but she got stationed in Belgium. And I was like, look, I'm just going through a breakup right now. I'm not too sure. And unfortunately, she didn't really respect that because it seemed like on a very frequent basis, it could have been almost it could have been somewhere between monthly to daily of just, hey, have you thought about getting back together with me? Hey, have you thought about like coming to Belgium and seeing me? Have you thought about coming to Belgium and marrying me? And just by this point, she was what, 33, 34, and no guy in her life, no kids. Her clock's ticking, I get it. And it just, it felt very pressuresome to the point where I didn't even reply back to her, and she would keep messaging me, and I didn't even read the messages. I think there reached a point where I just unfriended her as a whole. About 2 years ago, she was still talking to me when I first moved to Oklahoma. Not Oklahoma. She was still talking to me when I moved to Colorado. But she only lasted maybe about 2 months until I removed her. I would say somewhere between 6 to 9 months later. So I'm approaching 1 year of being in Colorado. I did hear that she eventually did marry. Now, I can only imagine how desperate she was or the kind of guy she settled with. I don't know. But I will say this. She is one of the smartest women that I know. She has degrees. She's got a degree in cybersecurity. She's very smart. Very clingy. Very pushy. And I respect it a little bit because she's fighting for what she wants, and she wants marriage, commitment, kids. And I get it, I wanted the same thing, but it just came out a little hard on top of the racial stuff. So, as late 2022, I don't know what she's been up to, but I do honestly hope she's doing well. I do think she's a very nice individual, and she's a very smart individual. And, looking back, I probably would have just stuck with being friends, but, I won't deny that she was a blessing. Even though we were only dating for a month, she was an on and off friend for at least 4 years, especially during my time in active duty, and provided me with very good information on how to go about the military. So, this concludes video number 2 for my relationships. Video number 3 is going to be very quick. Actually, I'll explain in the next video.